One more game we have to look at, Thibodaux against Higgins. Now, there were a lot of games canceled. We're going to look at the entire scoreboard after we look at this one. Chris Dugas, first-year coach at Thibodaux. He's a Thibodaux guy. Grew up in Thibodaux, as a graduate of Thibodaux. Just going back to the spring when he decided to apply for that job, he was your offensive coordinator. You guys last year had a terrific season, won the district, didn't lose a game in district. Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah.
Any begging, saying, why don't you just hang around, or were you just happy for him? Go ahead.
I mean, as a friend, you're happy for him. You know, you knew he wanted to be a head coach, and you were glad that he's getting the opportunity. And as a coach and also as a friend, you hate to see your friend go. But it's an opportunity for him, and I know he's going to do a great job, and I know he's going to work hard, and it was a good thing for him, and, you know, I wish him the best.
Well, last night he had one against Higgins. He did not shy away from tough competition, because we're going to talk about the team he's playing next week, who was pretty good too. But Higgins always does well, made a good run last year in the playoffs. That is Aaron Thomas. He hands it off to Daquan Farragut, a nice run around left end. Again, for you folks who are looking at these dry fields trying to figure it out, this game was moved to last night, from tonight to last night, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Aaron Thomas actually had a really good game for Thibodaux last night. He ended up getting 89 yards rushing and 122 yards passing. It was just a deal where in overtime, didn't get it done. That's a nice throw, nice catch. Is that the same guy down there? It sure is. Farragut on the catch. So that's a touchdown. There is Aaron Thomas again. I'm not quite sure if that's for the two-point conversions, but there you see they were behind early in this thing. As a matter of fact, I think it was 22-0 at one point.
I don't know about nothing. I think Thibodaux scored on their first drive.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Thibodaux did. You're exactly right. They went up 6-0 on their first drive, and then Higgins kind of took over. And then it looked like it might be a blowout, but Thibodaux comes back in this game. Look how big some of those kids from Higgins. They always have big kids. Brandon White, the quarterback, who kept the ball a couple of times. And unfortunately for Thibodaux, in overtime, they lose 34-28. Higgins had the ball first, and they scored. Thibodaux took a loss on a first down, and when you only got the ball for 4 plays from the 10-yard line, you can't afford a loss on the first play of that overtime, and they did. Score at the bottom, interesting to both you and to Chris Dugas and everybody in 7-5A. New Iberia defeats St. Martinville. At one time, you would look at that score and kind of be in awe of it, but not anymore. St. Martinville's not a very good football team. They hadn't been for the last couple of years. So, but New Iberia is good, a team you played last year. Did you talk to Coach Dugas maybe after this game?
I talked to Coach Dugas this morning. I talked to Coach Hudson about 20 minutes ago.
Oh, did you?
Well, before I came in, I should say. And, you know, he said they didn't even have it. You know, the rain was not even a factor up in St. Martinville because they played at St. Martin.
Tonight.
He said it drizzled a little bit, but
should have moved your game to Lafayette tonight.
Maybe we could have played on the turf at ULL.
That would have been nice. That would have been nice. And actually, we're going to find out that South Lafourche did not play tonight, and I thought if anywhere was a good place to play, Destrehan having the turf might have been good. But I was also worried about our cameramen going out tonight and stuff, so I can imagine how people were worried about their children being out in a night where the wind is starting to pick up and there's a lot of rain.
And they're down on the bayou, so, you know.
That's right, where you got water coming up and such. If we can, Jason, let's go back and look at all of the high school scores before we get to Nicholls State, because we are going to look at Nicholls State, big win last night over Evangel University. Again, congratulations. Terrebonne 27, Ellender 2, and I'll get it right this time. Westgate 10, Brobridge 35, because you guys love messing with me when I make mistakes. Coach Gary Hill from Thibodaux High School. Here we go, moving on to the next board. Now that was on purpose.
I know it was.
Okay. E.D. White 30, Vanderbilt 28, a terrific football game. I know I've said that a lot, but I really enjoyed myself last night. Both teams played extremely well. It just got to that point. Assumption 27, Donaldsonville 8. So Assumption gets off to a great start in that one.
I think they're going to be a pretty good football team. They got a lot of guys back, and Coach Toya is doing a great job.
H.L. Bourgeois 20-14 over Clark. West St. John 18-12 over St. James. We're going to start getting into some scores that may interest some of you folks from different parts of the state. Miller McCoy 24, South Terrebonne 40. Unfortunately for Morgan City, they go down to Como tonight. This was in Youngsville. I say Youngsville, Lafayette 37-0. Next board. Higgins 34, Thibodaux 28. That was last night. New Iberia 24, St. Martinville 6. And as Coach Hill just said, this game was played tonight, but not in rain. So in St. Martinville, they did not have rain tonight. Ponchatoula 35, Central Lafourche 0. Houma Christian 14, very competitive against Falls River. Houma Christian actually open next week. They don't have a game next week. Moving on the board. South Lafourche against Destrehan. Now, Jason's got that up for Monday, so I'm assuming he knows something I don't know because I didn't know that for a fact. But he must know something. I know it was postponed tonight. I know Monday is the last day that the Louisiana High School Athletic Association allows you to make up a game. Right. So they very well could have that game on Monday. St. Martin's, that is interesting to the folks from Houma Christian because they are in your district. They defeated Lusher 30-7. Moving on. Crowley, it was postponed with Patterson. Crowley is in Acadia Parish, and they did not allow the teams from that parish to travel, the public schools. So Patterson was waiting to play, but they had nobody to play. Central Catholic defeated Laurelville last night 15-12 in a very good game. Central Catholic had to score in the fourth quarter to win that one against Laurelville.
I think Ellender looked good against Simmons.
That's right. Ellender looked good against Central Catholic. You are correct. I knew this one would be a tough one for Berwick. Chalmette is a pretty good ball team this year. They win 54-0 against Berwick. Now, Chalmette was put on probation earlier this week. They actually had a coach who was videotaping another game that Chalmette was not involved in, which is illegal. They turned themselves in a $500 fine and 1 year probation with the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. Maybe it was Berwick they were filming. I don't know. I'm not quite sure who the other team was. In the Louisiana Christian School Association tonight in a meet, Covenant Christian goes down to Oak Forest. Oak Forest plays in the Mississippi Private League. They are right near the border, and they play in the Mississippi Private League. This was their homecoming. They win 22-8. Moving on to the next board. Kaplan 36, Jeanneret 12. You folks in Patterson might want to keep an eye on Kaplan. Kaplan can play football. West St. Mary was defeating Franklin 7-0. I'm not quite sure if that was a final, but that's the two teams that split. Actually, Franklin was a big high school. They split, and West St. Mary was the school that became because of the split with Franklin, and now they're coming back and beating Franklin year in and year out. Here we go, moving on. Let's see what we got next. Bruley 16, Plaquemine 7. So E.D. White, keep an eye on Bruley. And of course, a lot of teams in our area play Plaquemine. South Lafourche does next week. Episcopal beat Albany 36-0. Ellender is kind of smiling at that. They have Albany. You know, I say smiling because sometimes you want to be competitive against a team, but you also want power points.
Right, power points are very important.
And I know when you guys got back to Terrebonne, you were, although they're your arch rival, you're there pulling for H.L. Bourgeois. You want H.L. Bourgeois to win a game tonight, so that helps you with power points. Here we go, moving on to the next board. Sophie B. Wright, a new school, loses to Country Day 35-0. So I don't, if you're playing football for Sophie B. Wright, that's pretty interesting. Country Day is a good football team, and they are in the district with Houma Christian. Vermilion Catholic is in the district with Central Catholic of Morgan City, and they seem to be very good because North Vermilion's a pretty good AAA team. That scored 25-7. Moving on to our next board, Estruma. This is the one that interests you. Tell us why that one interests you a little bit.
We got Estruma in week 10.
How did that happen? They just happen to be open in week 10?
They're open in week 10. There's a couple other schools in week 10 that were open, and we were trying to figure out who was going to be where, and it just kind of fell that way. I
got to tell you, fans of Terrebonne High back in the late 60s and 70s, they love it because this evidently was a big rival for Terrebonne at one time. And, of course, Estruma had some pretty impressive players there. If I'm not mistaken, Billy Cannon played at Estruma.
Yes, he did.
So that's great. So that's the last game of the year. Jesuit defeated Hornville 28-13. Last year, the last game I called on radio was you guys against Jesuit and Tad Gormley. So you got to be smiling a little bit because you just lost to Jesuit.
I tell you what, them and Mandeville, they sitting pretty if our track record holds true. I think the first year we made the playoffs 3 years ago, we lost to Rummel. We were in the game till the fourth quarter. They went to the Dome the following year. Then Acadiana the following year was our playoff in the first round. We were in the game to the fourth quarter and ended up losing. They won the state championship the following year. So if history holds true, Jesuit and Mandeville are sitting pretty.
Yes, because those are your two teams you saw in the playoffs last year. And I don't know if we have it on the scoreboard, but I do have the score in my paperwork here. There's an interesting score for Mandeville tonight. Everett and Helen Cox, Jefferson Parish canceled all of their games tonight, so no score from that. Last night, West Jefferson defeated McDonough. West Jefferson's supposed to be really good, ranked third in the state in 5A this year, so they win 57-0. Again, that was last night, not tonight. Here we go, moving on to the next board. Zachary, 29, Catholic of Baton Rouge, 22. Wow. Chris Dugas and Thibodaux have a tough one next week, and if I'm not mistaken, that game's going to be in Zachary.
Right, I think it is going to Zachary, and Thibodaux does have them, but I believe that's son beating dad in that scenario.
It sure is. It sure is. The Weimers, or what is it?
Neil Weiner, and I can't think of his dad's name. But
yeah, that's what it is, dad against son. Tara, East Ascension, put that score up for you because you scrimmaged East Ascension. I think East Ascension is going to be pretty good this year. They win 14-0. Moving on to the next board. If we have any more boards, I'm not quite sure what we got coming up. Yeah, Acadiana 36-13 over Northside. St. Thomas More, who is in 4A, blasted Sulphur tonight, 44-0. St. Thomas More and St. Aug are going to be two forces in 4A. Holy Cross 34, Slidell 41. Sorry, Bobby Arsenault. Holy Cross goes down in defeat. Bell Chase and South Plaquemine not played tonight. Don't know if they're going to make it up, but they, that's a low-lying area, so they didn't play it. Dutchtown 32, Lutcher 8. Welcome to 5A football, Lutcher. Carr 7, St. Paul 38. Welcome to 5A football, Carr, because Carr was ranked number 1 in 4A at this point.
And a bunch of people thought St. Paul's was going to be down, but evidently not.
Well, I don't think preseason rankings, come on, in high school. Here we go, exactly. Varnado 46, North Lake Christian 39. North Lake Christian plays Ellender a little bit later in the year. West Monroe goes down to Byrd. This game played last night in Shreveport. Byrd wins it 30-23. And do we have another one up there? I'm not quite sure. Let's see if Jason moves it on to our next one. Yes, I think this is our last one. Port Allen defeated Northwood Lena. Port Allen is in E.D. White's district. And John Curtis defeated defending 4A state champion Franklinton 34-0. That game was played at Moose Bertolini. If you've ever had the pleasure, it's in Kenner and it's a playground. It would be like if you went out and played, I don't know, the little field in Montague for TPR football. That's kind of what it looks like. But Curtis shows up and they play and they do well. So, they do that year in and year out. We've got a few more scores. We'll get to those on the back that might have some relevance to some of the teams in our area. But we're also going to look at Nicholls State, who had a tremendous win last night against Evangel University. We'll do that after this break.